Hello everybody. This is my WIP or Works in Progress parade for the beginning of 2020. So this is everything that I have started that is not finished yet. And we will try to go quickly. I believe it's 28. The first four are in the first, and I'll do it in chronological order from oldest to newest. And the first four are in what I call, what my sister-in-law coined, Craft Prison. That was the first time I'd ever heard that term. And which doesn't surprise me because those are the four oldest and they have some challenge with them that I couldn't figure out, which is why they're still WIPs. I have a huge pile over here. This is Victoria Sampler. Heirloom Christmas Sampler. I started this in 2003. I was doing the red and green version. I did think I wanted to do all of the bands, but I pulled it out yesterday to look at it while I was talking to a friend, and I think I have come to a decision of how to get this out, sprung out of Craft Prison and on the finish list. Something behind it, maybe. I have the tree down at the top and the first few bands. And when I pulled it out yesterday, I pulled it out earlier this year and figured out how I was going to do the pulled bands, pulled work bands that would be easier. And when I pulled it out yesterday, I thought, because I'm not interested in working on it. I think I will just pull out this lettering that I have done right here. This is a beautiful border right here, and I am just going to call that finished and be done with it and use it like this because I think that top part is beautiful. I will think about that for a few weeks before I totally give up on it. Not give up on it, but decide that that's what I want to do. But I'm thinking that's my plan. So that may be my first finish of 2020. Oh, weird, I can't get it back in the bag. Which I need to do unless this will turn into a huge, huge mess. All right, next is a Heaven and Earth Designs piece called Peter Pumpkineater. It would look like this if it was finished. I love it. First Heaven and Earth design I ever did. It has this much done on it. It's that top corner where the wood pieces are. I started another Heaven and Earth design piece that I love a lot better. And for now, I'm just going to have one Heaven and Earth design piece, and I may only ever finish one in my lifetime. So this one's kind of it'll probably just stay in storage for a while I decide. I may want to get back to it someday. I may not. I don't know. This one is called The Signs of Spring by Diane Clements. It was a class piece. And down here at the bottom, it has this reticello section, which is very difficult for me and not my favorite thing. So it is finished, except for a couple of some sequins I think that need to be sewed on. It is finished except for that reticello piece right there. But I came up with a plan this year. We did a practice one in class. So this is the one we did on a practice piece of fabric. It is almost done. It just needs a couple of more knots over here for it to be done. I am just going to cut this one out and sew it to the back side of this so that it shows through this hole and then sew on those couple of beads or sequins, I think. And then that one will be finished. I made that decision earlier this year, I just haven't got around to actually doing it. Oh, and then the EGA Basic Sewing Kit. This is the fourth thing that's in Craft Prison. It was a project we started in our EGA group. We designed a box top on any kind of basket or box you wanted to put it on, and then we were making things to go inside using different techniques. This is, oh, there's a name for this. Is it a CC? Where you stitch all the background, and then the object is not stitched, just has a little bit of back stitching in it. I put a scripture on every one of mine. This is a little pocket book to hold things in. And we were doing black work. This is a needle roll pincushion. And then we did a fob that matches the other one. It's a CC work, if that's what it's called. And then I just have some of my EGA name tags in here. And this was held our tickets when we were at the Shakespeare retreat. It was in Cedar City, and we went to the Shakespeare Festival as part of the retreat. That was a gift. So what I've decided to, I wasn't interested in, there were several other techniques that we were going to do. Some hard anger, some, can't remember what else. So there are other pieces that went to this kit using different techniques. This was clear back in 2012. And I decided that I wasn't interested in doing any of those other techniques. So it has been sitting for a while for me trying to decide what to do. So I think what I'm going to do, I finally decided that looking at the tools that are in here, I think the only other thing it needs is a pin cushion pillow. And then I'm going to call this project done. So I just chose a pattern, which was my new start on New Year's Day, which wasn't really a new start because it was to finish this old start, right? This old piece. I found a pattern that I thought went with the colors of everything else that I made for that. I'm going to do Plum Street Samplers, Autumn Saltboxes. This one, number 2, right there. I'm going to stitch it on 40 count. And make it into a little pillow. I'll use this fabric right here on the back of it so it matches, and it will be a little pincushion pillow. And that's where I am so far on that one. So it won't take very long. It's halfway done already. And then that project will be out of Craft Prison. So in a few months, the only thing left in Craft Prison should be that Peter Pumpkineater, which really isn't in Craft Prison, it's just in storage for a while. I won't work on it anytime soon, but I'm not going to get rid of it yet either. My daughter Catherine suggested maybe restarting it and just doing a little piece out of the middle, kind of like a story keep, where it's just part of the pattern right in the middle, the part that's the cutest, right in the middle, and forget all the stuff around the edge. I may think about that too. All right, moving on. Kurumi is a counted canvas piece that class I took in 2010. And it will look like this when it's finished. It's by Ann Strite-Kurz. She gave me a great tip during this class. Well, we learned a lot of things. It was the first time I'd ever, well, no, I think it was the third time I'd ever worked on counted canvas work. It is gorgeous, and I love working on it. This is how far she is. I just rarely get it out and work on it for some reason. If she told us in that class, if you're working on something that's a repetitive, it's going to keep a part of your pattern that's going to keep happening over and over again. That's not all connected up. To measure your thread that you're using, and use the bottom of your frame, whatever frame you're using, use that as a measure. Measure how much thread it takes to do that thing, and then the next time you get to that repetitive part, you can cut the exact amount of thread that you need. And I always thought that was great. I have used that. I used that in my temperature garden that I used to track migraines. I measured how much thread it would take to do one petal of the flower. Oh, I forgot to tell you on that piece that I adapted her pattern so that each flower was 1 week, because I needed to always see where the Mondays were and where the Tuesdays were. So I redesigned my flowers from what she had. And then the months start and end at the end of each month exactly on the day. So that's why mine doesn't look like hers, if you're wondering. But I used that technique in that pattern because I knew exactly how much thread it was going to take to do each petal. And if I was going to do 3 petals of the same color, I just measured that 3 times and then cut the thread. It was really handy. Next, Kurumi, oh, I told you it was 2010. Abecedare Bertha, I'm sure it's a variant of Bertha, the French version, Bertha, DuPont, 1913. I worked on this one this year quite a bit. This is by Marie Francois. This is still available to purchase. I'll put the link in the description box below. I started this in 2010 as well. This is what it's looking like so far. This is the one where I was using old, I changed the greens. This is not the greens that it calls for, but it is DMC floss. And I also added a yellow color, a lighter yellow right here instead of the taupe color that it called for. And I was using old green floss, and then when Catherine helped a lot. Catherine stitched this entire border, except for I had maybe this much of it done and decided I was sick of this border. So she took it home one year and stitched almost all the rest of the border. She left like this much of it right here for me to stitch myself, which I just finished yesterday. I put a shout out to you guys if anyone had old of that color floss so it would match, because the new color floss, the dye lot had changed for DMC and it didn't match anymore. And you were also kind and sent me floss. So I really hope that one gets finished this year. It is on 28 count even weave, white even weave with DMC. My piles are tipping over. This is American Sampler by Sandy Orton. She is also a main person on Cooler Design Studio. She was one of the main designers in the old Cross Stitch and Country Crafts magazine. This one has a lot of specialty stitches in it. I love working on it. I need to get back to it. It is with the called for of Vera Soie Silks. It has been, you can buy this on her website, Cooler Design Studio website. It was also in this magazine, Cross Stitch and Needlework magazine from March 2011. It's the copy I'm using. This copy does call for a Vera Soie Silks, which is what I am using. I am not sure that all of the different versions of this call for the silks, but this one does. I changed a couple of the colors. And it is on Lakeside Linens 36 count pair vintage pair. 36 count. And this is what it looks like so far. The little man and woman are over 1. And lots of specialty stitches. These flowers are queen stitch. All of this background green is a rice stitch. The background white of this part is a a running stitch, but it's a beautiful piece. I need to get back to that one as well. On the zipper. Next is Peaceable Kingdom, which I'm not going to unroll. I'm so sorry. I'm hoping to have this one done in the next, sometime this year. This is the top half that I already have finished. This is the bottom half. I am down to this alphabet band right here, and then I just have to do this bottom part. But this section right here in the middle is all over one. So that will take a little bit of work, but it has been fun to work on. It does have, it was a class piece by Catherine Theron, has a lot of specialty stitches. Takes a lot of brain power. I usually only work on it during the daytime, like a Saturday or when I'm on break. I started that in 2014. Next is my full color coverage Disneyland piece. I do like to take this to Disneyland and work on it in the park. It is by Neni Design, N-E-N-I. It will look like this when it is finished. It's very similar to a Heaven and Earth design. I'm doing it the same as my other Heaven and Earth designs. Actually, no, this one is, I'm doing it one strand over 2 threads on 40 count. And this is Dwarf fabric, the name of it. I'm thinking it's Picture This Plus. That's where it is so far. Catherine did most of that castle section for me. I had like 1/3 of it done, and she finished that page for me. So, because I had tried starting it cross country and then decided, no, I hate that. I need to go back to 10 by 10 squares and parking. So she got that page finished so that I could easily move back to 10 by 10 squares 1 year for Mother's Day and my birthday. She also bobbinated all the floss for me and put it back in, because I was trying it in baggies and decided it was too many for the floss baggies that I usually use, so she bobbinated it for me. I started Disneyland in 2018. And then I started the new Haid that I just love, 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 about the same time. Wow, it is in a bag with the design printed on it that I bought off the Society 6 website. Oh, let's see if we can find the print. I always hide it. Where do I put it? So it doesn't get all mashed. Oh, here it is. This is what it will look like when it's finished, although I bought the version that does not have this medallion in the middle. It's called a Stitcher's Shelf. It's bookshelves that have little characters from the books sitting in front of them, and all of the characters are doing something to do with needlework. And it's 4 seasons. Love this piece, just love it. It's artwork by Aimee Stewart, but it is not very far. I just have this much done, top corner of the top band, so it's spring blossoms and a pink book and a purple book. There's a bird up here. There is a bottle of wine and a little cup of wine right here. There's a table right here that they'll sit on. That's where that is. 1/1 DMC on 25 count even weave, which is what is the most popular choice, I think, for people who do Hades. Hade is H-A-E-D, Heaven and Earth Design. They take artwork and convert it into those full coverage cross stitch. This is Bless This House by Catherine Theron. It was a class piece that we took from Catherine Theron. It will look like that when it's finished. I have this much completed, not very much, just that little raspberry, strawberry. Beautiful piece. I will get back to one of these other ones as soon as I finish Peaceable Kingdom. That class was in August of 2017. And that same weekend we also took another class from her, from Catherine Theron, called An Irish Blessing. It will look like this when it's finished. They are class exclusive pieces. You can only get the pattern if you take the class from Catherine Theron. And that one looks like this so far. I have that A done. Finished the border because that was the hardest part, and while I had its Montenegrin stitch and while I had it in my head, I wanted to just keep going. So I finished the border because they're both pieces have that stitch as the border. And next is lots of specialty stitches in those Catherine Theron pieces, so those are daytime pieces as well. Next is Victorian Charm by Dimensions. It's a Dimensions kit. I was trying so hard to have this done by the end of the year, but I didn't make it, but I got very close. And it looks like this. There's a bunch of flowers in the front yard right here, and these trees over here, and the rest of these windows to finish. I've so enjoyed this piece. I'm using the kit fabric that it came for, which is 18 count Aida, and the kit threads. And the instructions do call for 2 strands of thread over on 18 count Aida. So the coverage is nice and dense. Next is why is that? My own organization has confused me. Next is Words to Live By. This is a monthly mystery stitch along by Tiny Modernist. It is almost finished. I have not done December's block yet because I was focusing on the things I wanted to have done by the beginning of the year, by the end of the year. So now that we're into January, I'll do December's block, and then we just have one more that will come out on January 15th. And then this one will be finished. So this should be done somewhere in the second half of this month, January. It's on black, 28 count, even weave with the called for, it might be 32 count even weave, with the called for DMC colors. Then we start Mania. These are things I started during Mania in May. I am doing 2 new cards for my Fun Everyday calendar, which I should have brought upstairs, but usually you see it in the background of my videos when I'm down in my sewing room. This is January's card, and this is March's. So I started these for Mania, but they had assignments. This was a monthly assignment to work on in January, and this one was the one I'll work on in March, because I like working on something seasonal each month. The This is what the January, I pulled this design from Bent Creek Winter Arches for this one. And then the March card I adapted from this one, this bird in the nest right here will be on the March card. So the January one will be done in January and the March one will be done in March because those don't take very long. Next is Arcade by Long Dog Sampler. I started this in May for Mania. I worked on it in June. Haven't worked on it very much since because it was kind of my June assignment. But this year this is going to be in my weekly rotation. I love it. It's like a forest of trees. I love that it's not repetitive. All of these are different. It's different all the way down. There's hardly anything that repeats. Some things have two matching things on either side of the tree, but it doesn't have a repetitive border. It doesn't have... This is where it is so far. This is 40 count conifer. Picture this plus conifer fabric, and I am using Silks for You floss, 2 different colors. This is one of the colors, and then this color. It looks like this. It's this color. This is the one, and then this is the other color. I bought a whole hank of both of those colors from Silks for You. Love that piece. I was so excited to, once I finished my end of year, crazy trying to finish things by the end of the year, it was so fun to pull out all of these old favorites that I had been missing to get to work on them now. Next is Sky Blue Street, which I also started during Mania. It's by Soda Stitch. It will look like this when it is finished. It is on 36 count white Evenweave with the called for DMC floss. It looks like this. I started in the middle, so this is how much is done. Hopefully we'll see some more of that this year. It was my September assigned piece because it felt like September to me somehow. I don't know why. But it was a large enough piece that I was not able to finish it in September. This was another Mania start. It's called Patchwork Sampler by Jan or Jan Houtman. I am using all of I have a lot of silks because I did 3 chatelaine projects that called for a lot of silks, and I've done a couple other projects that called for some variegated silks. So what I've decided to do was to do this project and just use all of my leftover silks that are in my stash from other projects. So for each motif, I will just choose a different one of my leftover silks. And this is where I am so far. It is also on 36 count white Evenweave. And I'm using 1 strand. Be happy to get back to that. Haven't really worked on that since Mania. Try not to talk while I rattle the plastic because you can't hear me. This is Sleeping Princess by Mirabilia. I also started this during May for Mania. I love the colors in this one. Love it. It is on Water Lily linen. The called for. Oh, it wasn't the called for because I couldn't get the called for. I believe it's 28 count. And I've just done that little bit right in the middle. My needle minder's upside down. It's part of her nightgown that's hanging down, I think. Oh, needle minder was probably the other way because I think it goes this way. But not a lot done on that so far. I will be very happy to get back to that one too this year. This is Harvest Time. I'm just doing this one by Prairie Schooler. I'm not doing these two. This was also a Mania start, and I was hoping to finish this in November, but I was trying to get the Christmas stockings done and a couple of other things, and so it didn't get very much time on it. So this will remain a Mania piece in 2020, and I will work on it again either in October. It will either be October or November's assignment. And I should be able to finish it then. Because I'm not making any cross-stitch stockings this year that I know of. Next was also a Mania start, Day and Night by Long Dog Samplers. It will look like this when it is finished. It's a beautiful piece. I just pulled this out and worked on it last night for the first time since last May. I love that the border has all these little houses and trees all the way around. So not very repetitive. The houses and trees repeat, but they're always a different color. So I love that about it. And then started on the church spire. Next, this was kind of a Mania piece, but kind of my birthday start. My birthday is just a couple of days before Mania starts. So this year I chose one of my Mania starts, my favorite one, and started it a little early on my birthday. It's called Topi by Camille Collier-Camps. She's a French designer. Her patterns are also available on the Jardin Privé website in France, or you can order it through your local needlework store. I love it. There are little houses in the tree and up here in the little birds and on swings. And if you've seen my little miniature village that I've showed on a few of my videos, you know why I love this piece. And this, wow, it's wrinkly, is what I have so far. And I am excited to finish this. This should be finished, well, it was April's assigned piece. And I worked on it a little bit in June, but it should be done well before April. If not, it will be finished in April this year. Next is Band of Roses by Cross Stitch Antiques. It is a reproduction sampler. It looks like this. I am doing this as a stitch along with Linda in California and anyone else who wants to join us. It's a very leisurely stitch along. We're not going very fast. I think I might make this my Sunday piece. The Sunday, I was working on Morning Has Broken, but that takes too much brain power for Sunday night for me, and I only get to stitch on the evenings, a few hours in the evenings on Sunday. It's a very busy day for me. This is what I have so far. I'm using the DMC threads on a 40 count cream colored linen. Don't have that information with me right now. This whole top half, 3/4 of the sampler is then this really dark blue. And I didn't like the way the DMC was covering, so I bought the Avera Soie equivalent of this color. It'll be in the description box below. Just to do the letters in. This whole bottom part will all be DMC. It's Avera Soie 1416. And the DMC color was 823, I believe. So excited to get back to that one. And then when I was at the Stitch West retreat in October, I saw Rika of House of Stitch and Stash stitching on a couple of Praiseworthy Stitches pieces. She had a Halloween one and a Christmas one. She was working on Widow Black's B&B. And it was they were just so gorgeous. I decided I needed to start some too. For my Halloween piece, I picked Bump and Denight Farm. That will look like this when it's finished. I have this much done. Love it's got little trick-or-treaters all over the pattern, all dressed up in different costumes. I have 2 of them done. And the pumpkins, and started on the barn, the haunted barn. It is Gentle Arts on Zweigart Newcastle Creek 40 count creek stone. I'm trying to remember what brand this is and I can't think. Probably Silkweaver. I think it's Silkweaver creek stone. And then my last new start of 2019 was another Praiseworthy Stitches Christmas piece, a Churchyard Christmas, which Rika is also working on. Hers is like 3/4 of the way done. It is so pretty. I'm doing this on the Called For Picture This Plus Mirage 32 count fabric, and this is what I have done so far. Gorgeous piece. I've had so much fun working on it. I will probably put it away and pull it out again next fall as we get a little closer to Christmas. I might pull it out and work on it a little bit in July, you know, when you're having that little bit of a Christmas in July thing. And that is all of the WIPs that I am carrying into 2020. And then the one new start I showed you that I started on January 1st, the Autumn Salt Box by Plum Street. And that's it for the WIP Parade. I will reset and do a quick video on what I've stitched on this week and what my plans are for 2020.